For today's session, the keynote address will be delivered by Mr. Vivek Sawant, Chief Mentor and former MD of Maharashtra Knowledge Corporation Limited, popularly known as MKCL. Sawant sir has worked in the capacity of Managing Director since the inception of MKCL in 2001 till 2019. Under his leadership, MKCL has emerged as a high-tech initiative of the government of Maharashtra and 10 universities in Maharashtra for development and delivery of education, governance, and empowerment technologies, solutions, and services to the masses. Under his leadership and guidance, MKCL has successfully integrated a network of about 5,000 plus authorized learning centers, is the single largest private-public partnership network of its kind in India. So far, over 1.25 crore learners from metros to rural and tribal areas have taken a low-cost, high-quality IT literacy e-learning experience leading to MSCID certification. It is very noticeable that providing employment and self-employment opportunities in the field of IT to about 25,000 youngsters in the state and still counting. He has also participated in design and development of India's first indigenous supercomputers, Param, at CYDA. A founder director of International Institute of Information Technology at Rajiv Gandhi Infotech Park at Hinjewadi, Pune. He has also served on several policy formulation committees at state and national level, including the Indian Prime Minister IT Task Force, served on boards of studies and academic councils of several universities, and also offers voluntary services to a number of organizations as well. Mr. Sawant has been felicitated by various awards for his distinguished contributions in the field of education. Jnana Surya Award, IT Icon Award, Doordarshan Shikshan Ratna Award, just to name a few. He was also nominated for World Technology Network Award at San Francisco for his work of long-term significance in education. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you, dear sir.
Sally, thank you so much for your great introduction. I hope my voice is clearly audible to all.
Absolutely, sir. It is.
Yes. My most beloved friend, Dr. Lezen Azadi, who gave wonderful introductory remarks, and most revered Professor M.M. Salunkhe sir, all the distinguished academicians who are attending this conference on very, very important subject, Sally and all the friends at Baha'i Academy. I first of all express my deep gratitude towards Dr. Lezen Azadi for inviting me to such an important conference and requesting me to offer the keynote speech. As he rightly mentioned, the general or the gross enrollment ratio in India for higher education has to be taken to 50% by 2035 as per the National Education Policy 2020. It means that 5 crore students have to be brought into the sphere of higher education or tertiary education. It's an uphill task, but in order to succeed in that direction, the most important requirement is to first cut down the dropout, and without which we may not succeed in achieving that target. One of the most important reasons for dropouts is that the classrooms, the laboratories, and the campuses are becoming unattractive. And this has been a singular reason which is contributing to the dropouts in the largest proportion. However, we have to go back to the classical definition of university. University is a mechanism which connects scholars, students, and subjects. Now, as Professor Patwardhan rightly mentioned, that university should also connect with society. So it's a grand connect between students, scholars, subjects, and society. However, one of the main causes of dropouts are the disconnects. The students and the scholars, the connections are weak. The scholars teach subjects rather than teaching the students. That is the biggest observation that we can do anywhere in the colleges, that the professors hardly relate to the students, hardly personalize their delivery to the students, their background, their previous knowledge, their potential, etc. And therefore the students lose connect with the subject. Sometimes the so-called scholars do not love their own subject, and so the students don't feel like learning those subjects. Unless the scholars are excited about their own subjects, how their students can connect or get excited about those subjects. So these connections have to be strengthened between the students and the scholars, the students and the subjects and the scholars, and all of them in this society. However, normally the study of this subject of why people drop out and what should be done to avoid or curtail or minimize the dropout, normally this is a subject which pedagogists tackle, the technologists tackle, those who are experts in skills they tackle, and the psychologists also tackle. Most of the psychologists tackle this subject from, means any study on achievement is normally focused more on talent. But it has been proven that IQ is not the differentiator as far as those who continue in education and those who drop out. Because it has been found that the strongest of the performers possess not such a great IQ. And at the same time, the smartest of the students do not or may not perform well. So the performance and IQ, the continuation in education in IQ or talent are not correlated. Then the issue is, can we predict who will continue in education and who will drop out? This particular issue has been very well studied by one of the great psychologists in University of Pennsylvania by the name Professor Angela Lee Duckworth. And her studies show us that this significant predictor of continuation in education or not dropping out is not IQ. That is, IQ means the speed with which you can learn or the ease with which you can learn. IQ is nature. It doesn't change much with whatever way you nurture a person. It is more or less fixed. But fortunately, in terms of continuing with education or getting dropout, it is not IQ. It is not social intelligence. Neither it is your physical health, nor it is good looks. Okay. So this success, as she brought out by her enormous research, is because of grit. Grit is a combination of passion and perseverance. The success in education or with the family income, or it has not been found to be correlated with the safety or security that you feel about yourself, or the complexes such as inferiority complex, etc., whatever. They are not correlated. Her research brings out a truth that it is connected to grit. Grit in Hindi or Marathi means himmat. It's a combination of passion and perseverance. Okay, so it is, or hard work, as you may like to say. So the passion and perseverance matter over the talent, And if you have the passion and perseverance for a very long-term goal, then such people not only succeed in education, but succeed in life in general. So that is what university education has to offer as to how you identify your passion, how you start nurturing it, how you start pursuing it, and how much hard work you put in to pursue it. This is the quality because of which people succeed and lack of which people fail. So it is sort of a psychological stamina, okay? Or it is something to stick with your future with persistence, and it is working hard to make that future a reality. And therefore, grit is marathon in life and not a sprint. Okay, lambi race ka ghoda. Now, this has to be inculcated in the minds of the students, and this grit, the researchers have that the grit plays more important role, especially in the cases of students at the risk of getting dropped out. They lack that. You can give best of the technology, you can bring best of the teachers, you can do all the things. But unless they have the passion and perseverance, that psychological stamina to go ahead, they fail. Students with the interest is shown that usually the talent and the grit are not or are unrelated, and sometimes inversely related. Okay, that means very highly talented people lack grit. So basically, how to cultivate or how to build grit so that our students will not drop out. Because finally you are dealing with the mind of the student, his attitude, his mindset, that is more important. You may spend and make the campuses very beautiful, but unless you work on the psychological dimension of education, the sociological dimension of the philosophical dimension of education, only infrastructural dimensions, financial or technological dimensions do not suffice. So you have to go to another psychologist by the name Professor Carol Dweck from Stanford University. He has brought out a very important aspect as far as the dropouts are concerned, and that is, he says that the students who drop out do not possess what is called as growth mindset. This is a very important term, growth mindset. What is it? That it means that the ability to learn is not fixed. Okay? The ability to learn is not fixed. It changes with one's efforts. The more you focus, the perseverance is the same principle is again bringing. And what he offers as a recipe, and for tertiary education, we must try that, and that is little bit of orientation on how does the human brain function. Okay. He has shown by his researches that if you explain how does the human brain function when it encounters a challenge and when it responds to challenge, when it meets with a failure, how the brain changes itself and how does it grow. If that knowledge is given to a student of higher education, his mindset starts changing. It gets into growth mindset. That means that particular student, changes his perspective and start looking as every failure as a step towards success. Growth mindset education of brain tells the student that the failure is not a permanent condition. And once you get that idea, if the student is so well informed, then it has been shown in research by data that such students persevere much more intensely and succeed. When they fail, they understand that this condition of failure is not permanent. I can overcome. This is called growth mindset. The important thing is that the teachers, the professors, the principals, the vice chancellors, the deans, or whosoever who come in contact with the students, they themselves have to be gritty to make the students grittier and grittier, so that we can overcome the problem of dropouts, if at least we can minimize it. And another important aspect is that, like the national education policy has proposed, is the end of final high-stake examinations. Very important recommendation has been made, and that is not coming in the general debates on national education policy. In the section on higher education, it has clearly mentioned the end of final high-stake examinations. That means we have to introduce continuous comprehensive assessments. Student, at the end of the semester that you have failed, after every chapter, and that is where technology can help, you can give the assessments, ongoing assessments, continuous assessments, comprehensive assessments, so that the students has a chance to immediately get the remedial inputs and go ahead, rather than at the end of the year or term, he drops out. This is the most important recommendation of the national education policy that remains unattended. Third important aspect is that we have to have not the individual excellence as a passing criteria, but coexistence and collaboration as a passing criteria, so that you win or you pass as a team or a group rather than an individual. That is another important aspect, because in a college or a university, when the students come together in a group, it is said that you learn more from your classmates than in the class. But if you are assessed as classmates also, then in fact, the collaboration will be more tighter. So assessment, the revolution or the reforms in assessments are a key to curtailing the dropouts. I will once again thank Professor Azadi to give me such a long time for presenting my views. I have made presentations of more psychological dimensions. I do believe that introduction of distance education, e-learning, skill development, all these will contribute to work towards this problem. However, unless we tackle this most important fundamental psychological dimensions, this particular problem cannot be solved so easily. My time is up. My alarm is telling me. So I should conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear sir. This was such a really wonderful keynote address that you have delivered to all of us. And you spoke about the connections in the beginning. And I'm sure you have been that inspiring connections for many students for many years altogether. You have inspired us as well every time that we have met you. And sir, you have also very beautifully explained about grit, perseverance, the spiritual aspects, and they are really important for person's life and development. So thank you so much for bringing up these aspects in your keynote speech also. And the growth mindset that you have spoken, absolutely a wonderful concept that you have introduced here in your speech. And one sentence, the thought, the idea that you have shared with all of us, failure is not a permanent idea. Such a beautiful, this is a quotation which can go to each and every student all over the world, I would say, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful keynote address once again. Thank you very much, sir.